When Air New Zealand's flight TE901 crashed into Antarctica's Mt Erebus at 10 minutes to 1 in the afternoon of November the 28th, 1979, it began the world's most unusual air accident investigation. Aircraft had gone down in Antarctica before, but never a commercial DC-10 with 257 passengers and crew. Within hours of finding the wreckage, New Zealand's Chief Inspector of Air Accidents Ron Chippendale and a team of investigators were kitting up for the flight down to the ice. Their job was to find out why the DC-10 had gone down and who was to blame. Peter Rhodes was amongst the first investigators to get to the crash site.
It was quite apparent that the engines had kept running, particularly the tail engine, which wouldn't have impacted the ice first. It would have been high up, and there'd been enough fuel in the fuselage to keep it going. So you could see from the damage to the compressor and the turbine blades that the engine had actually kept running, and the blades were all bent.
Peter Rhodes was there when the black boxes were recovered, but it fell to another accident investigator, Milton Wiley, to follow the boxes to America where they could be analysed.
I was the logical person to be involved with the readout because I was probably the only one in the country that had done any flight recorder readouts. We were relying heavily, because there were no witnesses obviously, on the flight recorders. That's the cockpit voice recorder and the digital flight data recorder, being able to give us some useful information.
In Seattle, Milton was amongst the first to hear the chilling last moments of the doomed airliner, including the sound of the DC-10 ground proximity alert going off.
We're all listening to the tape, and then suddenly towards the end the ground proximity warning device sounds, followed shortly afterwards by an abrupt ending. Just stopped, the tape recording stopped. We're all somewhat in shock at that stage, realised that that was the end of the aircraft and the lives of 257 people.
The cockpit voices gave no immediate clues as to why the DC-10 had smashed into Mt Erebus at 1,500 feet. So were there clues from passenger photographs recovered from the wreckage?
Fears about the visibility being a problem were totally thrown out the window when we looked at the photographs that the passenger had taken. You had a visibility of 50 or 60 miles.
When all the technical data came back, investigators learned that the airliner was fully airworthy.
So we know the aircraft navigation system was operating. We know from the flight recorder that the aircraft was doing what it should have done. Everything was working. There were no problems with the aeroplane.
But something had gone wrong. 40 years on, people are still arguing over why the Erebus crash happened. And that includes our two accident investigators. Milton Wiley believes the crash was due to pilot error.
They shouldn't have been down under the overcast at 1,500 feet, flying around, 260 knots, quite fast for an aeroplane that size, without being able to see the predominant obstacle, which is a 13,000-foot mountain.
While Peter Rhodes believes that the crash was caused by systemic failure, that the blame for the crash must lie with Air New Zealand management, who changed the route but failed to tell the crew.
Because he was totally under the impression that the flight plan would have taken him down the middle of McMurdo Sound where all the other airplanes went. He did not expect the aircraft to be heading straight towards Mt Erebus.
I'm Garry McAlpine, and this is Erebus Flight 901, Litany of Lies.